Good morning. How wonderful to see all of you. Some of the snowbirds are back. I'm glad to see your faces. And our visitors and our normal, regular Sunday morning attendees. It's wonderful to be here. I am Ann Fullerton. I'm a member of Music and Worship, and I am your service leader today. Whether you are a member of this congregation or a recent visitor, we extend our warmest welcome to you, and we're so glad you're with us. The Unitarian Universalist congregation of Greater Naples is a welcoming congregation, freely seeking intellectual and spiritual growth. We strive to create a larger community of peace, justice, and love. We do have a couple announcements today before we turn the sermon or the program over. The UUCGN 2020 Vision Task Force wants to hear from you. Next week, when Tony's back here, he'll do a much better job of introducing the concept of 2020 vision. But for today, it is a vision that unites and engages our congregation in living our new UUCGN mission. Starting today and every Sunday in January, you will find easel pads around the patio during coffee hour, and you are asked to put down your ideas, hopes, and dreams for this congregation. Use your imagination, be creative, and share with us your vivid image of the UUCGN being a welcoming congregation, seeking intellectual and spiritual growth, and creating a larger community of peace, justice, and love. And I know all of you have wonderful ideas about what you'd like to see happen here in our future. And we have such a dynamic future coming soon. We are all so excited. And also this morning, I am excited because we have a visiting minister today, Suzanne Fast, who was our intern 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, and she's back today. She is a cradle Unitarian, meaning she was born and raised in the Unitarian faith. I am pleased to welcome her back. Suzanne is a campus ministry person at Florida Gulf Coast University. It's called the Eagle Unitarian Universalist Campus Ministry. And I am so happy that she's here today. If you would like more information about this campus ministry, because I'm pretty curious as well, there's a sign-up sheet, and she would be happy to come back and maybe do a little discussion group about what is going on with campus ministry in our very, very close campus. So it is my greatest pleasure to welcome her today. And we will start with our prelude. Thank you.
We bid you welcome on this first Sunday of the new year. Like Janus, we gather with part of us looking backward and part of us looking forward. We gather on the edge of the new year, saddened by our losses, cherishing our joys, aware of our failures, mindful of days gone by. We gather on this cusp of the new year, eager to begin anew, hopeful for what lies ahead, promising to make changes, anticipating tomorrow and tomorrows. We invite you to our celebration of life, knowing that life includes good and bad, endings and beginnings. We bid you welcome. And now we get to sing. It's hymn number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
And now we welcome the new year, full of things that have never been. Each morning, we must hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, and to give back. They're on the table.
Good morning. My name is Heather. I'd like to call all the children and youth forward up here. And I'm going to need a holder for my things. Come on up. Come on. Lulu, come on up. I'm the Director of Religious Education, so I run the children and youth programs here. It's great to be back. We've all kind of had a vacation. We had a fabulous holiday service a couple weeks ago with some angels and some shepherds. That was wonderful. There's more room over here if you want. So today we're talking about time. Someone asked me why I was wearing all these watches. Did you notice all my watches? And I think they're all in the same time, which is good. I got confused when I looked and one was a little different. I had to change it. So time is kind of like a couple things. I brought something today and I need some help. Let's see, who's maybe Emma and let's see, and Benno. Can you help me? I got permission from Richard to lay this on the piano, so don't worry. I need you to pick my hula hoop up. One on each side. It's kind of precarious. And come stand right in the middle. So this is actually an idea that Suzanne gave me, and I'm very grateful because I didn't have to hunt for a story. I just had to get all the props together. So one of the things, time is kind of like a hula hoop because it's cyclical. The same things happen over and over again. So for example, probably the most important day of the year is your birthday, right? That happens. And then it turns. Go ahead and turn. And then, see, my birthday's in August, so this is August. Then Halloween comes. Maybe that's the most important day of the year. And then keep turning. Thanksgiving's in there somewhere, but I didn't want to put a turkey on here. So we have Christmas. Hold it up a little bit higher. Let's see if so everyone can see. Which we just had. A lot of us celebrated. Keep turning. What's coming up? Valentine's Day. And then Easter comes. And then keep going. And then it's kind of a long stretch. And then finally the what comes? The summer comes. And a lot of us go away from here because it's kind of hot. And then keep going. And my birthday comes again. So it's kind of a cycle. It keeps going. But is the birthday I had last year going to be the same as the birthday I had this year? I don't think so. Is the Christmas that we had last year the same as the year before? No. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's a bummer. That's not the same. So even though the same things keep happening, it's kind of also linear. Okay, you can put that back carefully on the piano, and I have another prop for you. So that's one way we can look at time. Here's another way. This is going to be fun. Okay, who's the runner and who's the holder? Oh yeah, Benno, you are definitely the runner. You do all the different sports. So, okay, Benno, stand right here. And Emma, put your fingers in either side. Benno, run that way without breaking it and let it go. So time is kind of linear. And do you know what this is? Where's Kendra? She here? She's the one who made this. Yeah. So you can stop now. So what this is, let me see if I got it right, Kendra. When Kendra was talking about seeds, this is time, and these are the different seeds that developed. Was that what it was for? Right? And we had to do it all around Thomas Hall to give ourselves a sense of how long it took for different kinds of plants to develop throughout history. So even though my birthday happens, it happens again, and it's different, and it keeps going. So sometimes things are really long and really far away. So this is another way of looking at time. Now, another way to look on this, we're doing Bible stories this year. So we've talked about Adam and Eve, which were way, way back here, right? And we've talked about, what else can we think of that we talked about? Who else did we talk about? Cain and Abel, Noah, Ruth. Who else? Do you guys remember anyone else? Eventually got, the last person we talked about was Joseph. And today, 400 years later, we're going to talk about Moses. So that's another way of looking at time. Okay, now the trick is, can you roll it back up? Okay, so time is circular and time is linear. There's one last thing I want to tell you about time. There's a very wise woman named Byron Katie. Does anyone know who Byron Katie is? If you don't know who she is, you should. She's really wise. She really helps us to relieve suffering. She's a little Buddhist. And she says something that really struck me, and I want to share this and end with this for you to think about. If you want to suffer, or if you want to be unhappy, get a past or get a future. So the next time you're angry or upset or unhappy, I just want you to think about that. Because probably, if you're upset, you're not standing right here in this moment. You're thinking about what happened or what she said or what he did, or you're thinking about what's coming up, what's going to happen. So I just want you to think about that today and as we begin a new year. If you want to be unhappy, get a past or get a future. So I hope today you will stand right here in the present. And now we're going to sing our children out, and we're going to go back to class, and we're going to talk about Moses. So thank you.
Now is the time in our service when we reflect back on joys and sorrows. And what we just heard is important because we want to stay in the present, so we don't want to reflect back too far. We don't want to look too far in the future, but what about our present joys and our present sorrows? We want to share with each other our joys, and we also want to share our sorrows that we may support one another in our caring way. And it's also a time to build connections with each other. So if you have a joy, I'm going to start with joys this week, and you would like to share with us, one of our ushers will bring a microphone to you, so please raise your hand, and that will happen. It's John.
Good morning. My name is John Betcher. I'm a member here, and I want to thank, regarding the past, the help and assistance and cooperation of this congregation in achieving something I never thought would happen in my lifetime. And it's coming January 6th. Same-sex marriage equality, everybody equal under the law. Thank you.
Couldn't be happier about that. That is just wonderful. Any more joys? Now we're switching to, there's one. Hello?
Hello, I'm Bill Zeckhausen with my wife of 58 years, Barbara. And a great joy. My wife pointed out your paragraph on joys and sorrows. And I'm going to be very happy to bring the last sentence of what you have here back to the UU Church in Laconia, New Hampshire.
Blessed are the brief.
Exactly.
Sometimes that's harder to pull off than at other times. Anyone have a sorrow that they would like to share today with this congregation? Some sorrows and some joys are too personal to share at this moment, so we will keep those joys and sorrows that you hold in your heart, and we will all be thinking of each other. We will now sing hymn number 350.
We have arrived at the crossroads of a new year. As we pause for a moment of quiet reflection, may we find that the deeper place, of stillness, of strength, of creativity in our own selves. This is a time for reflection as well as a time of celebration at the turning of the year. As you look back on the past year and all that has taken place in your own life, remember each experience for the good that has come of it, for the knowledge that you have gained. Remember the efforts you have made, goals you may have reached. Remember the love you have shared, the happiness you have brought. Remember laughter, joy, work, tears, comfort. And as you reflect on the year now past, think too of the one that just begins. Most importantly, this is a time of new beginnings, a celebration of all that is our life. For the unspoken yearnings of the heart, may the new year bring us room. Amen. Our responsive reading today is number 544 in the back of the hymnal. I'll start. You guys do the part in italics. The 1st of January is another day dawning, the sun rising as the sun always rises, the earth moving in its rhythms. So it is. Everything is the same, bound into its history as we ourselves are bound.
Yet also we stand at the threshold, the new year something truly new, still unformed, leaving a stunning power in our hands.
What shall we do with this great gift of time, this year?
Let us begin by remembering that whatever justice, whatever peace and wholeness might illumine our world this year.
We are the hearts and minds, the hands and feet, the embodiment of all the best visions of our people.
The new year beginning on the ground, the seeds of our dreams.
Let us take the step forward together onto new ground.
Planting our dreams well, faithfully, and in joy.
Now it is time in our service that we are going to show our appreciation for this wonderful congregation by keeping us healthy, wealthy, and wise. We will now do our collection. Thank you.
The reading that I brought this morning is from Rachel Naomi Remen. She's a physician. She teaches physicians. She teaches medical students, and she writes some interesting books. And this is one of the things she wrote. Another of my patients, a successful businessman, tells me that before his cancer, he would become depressed unless things went a certain way. Happiness was having the cookie. If you had the cookie, things were good. If you didn't have the cookie, life wasn't worth a damn. Unfortunately, the cookie kept changing. Some of the times it was money, sometimes power, sometimes sex. At other times, it was the new car, the biggest contract, the most prestigious address. A year and a half after his diagnosis of prostate cancer, he sits shaking his head ruefully. It's like I stopped learning how to live after I was a kid. When I give my son a cookie, he is happy. If I take the cookie away, or the cookie breaks, he is unhappy. But he is 2.5, and I am 43. It's taken me this long to understand that the cookie will never make me happy for very long. The minute you have the cookie, it starts to crumble, or you start to worry about it crumbling, or about someone trying to take it away from you. You know you have to give up a lot of things just to take care of the cookie, to keep it from crumbling, to be sure that no one takes it away. You may not even get a chance to eat the cookie because you're so busy trying not to lose it. Having the cookie is not what life is about. My patient laughs and says cancer has changed him. For the first time, he is happy. No matter if his business is doing well or not, no matter if he wins or loses at golf. 2 years ago, cancer asked me, okay, what is important? What is really important? Well, life is important. Life, any way you can have it. Life with the cookie, life without the cookie. Happiness does not have anything to do with the cookie. It has to do with being alive. Before, who made the time? He pauses thoughtfully. Damn, I guess life is the cookie. Technical difficulties. We will be resuming our program momentarily. When in doubt, use paper. As we move more and more into this technological age, I understand better and better what my father was talking about when he would refer to suspenders and a belt. I have always been fascinated by notions of time. I remember being taught to tell time. My mother would stop in the middle of doing something and she would ask me to go into the kitchen and come back and tell her what time it was. Now, of course, I knew. I knew about lunchtime. I knew about supper time. I knew about bedtime. But this whole o'clock thing was a little odd. But I did learn to tell time and to make use of it. But I've always had a strong affection for the timeless moment, for the eternal now. This, the one moment that ever exists, the past a memory, the future a dream, there is only now. Existing outside of time. That's what eternal means. That call to live in the present moment. It speaks to me. And so I do find preaching the New Year's sermon a bit of a challenge, because New Year's is all about time. If there were ever an artificial holiday, it has got to be New Year's. Boss's Day gives it a run for its money, but really, you know what I'm talking about. New Year's is an artifact of the calendar. Now, tempting as it is, I'm not just going to say, see you at coffee hour, and pretend that the new year doesn't matter, because oddly enough, I think it matters just as much as we want it to. As Heather reminded us in the Time for All Ages, there's a cyclical side of time. Season following season, around and around, and here we arrive again at a new year. This point on the wheel has come full circle. It's winter. Our nights are chilly and long. Our calendars are busy. It's still too early to anticipate that relative calm that will arrive with the spring. It still amuses me when a casual visitor to Southwest Florida will remark that we don't have seasons here. And I try to resist the temptation to say, oh, but we do. We have wet season and hurricane season and dry season and fire season. Temperature, precipitation, humidity, which plants are blooming, the length of the day. They all change here as the seasons progress around the wheel. And there are other ways to notice those turnings of the wheel, not just the progression of the seasons, but that annual round of holidays, birthdays, and anniversaries that are unique in each family. The school year follows its own turning. Many businesses experience a regular progression of seasons, and so, of course, does the year of the church. From ingathering, teacher dedication, through the return of our seasonal members, the canvas, the annual meeting, and on into RE Sunday and those rhythms of summer. There are so many ways that we mark the turning and the returning of the seasons and that cyclical nature of time. But as Heather showed us with the ribbon, the turning of the wheel only begins to capture the way we experience time because it builds on itself. That's why we learn to tell time. It's why we number the years. Spring comes again, but not the same spring. The wheel turns, and the wheel travels. We age. Our bodies change. Our lives change. We gather experience. I dare say we know things when we are 10 that we didn't know when we were 6. And it doesn't stop. We complete projects, or not. We move on. There are changes in technology and changes in society over time. And prices, my goodness, really shocking when you think of what you used to pay for something. So as important as I think it is to be awake, living in the present moment, I think that really is only a piece of the story. As human beings, we are about the business of investing our lives with meaning. Making meaning of our experiences is that most basic religious impulse. But making meaning requires context, requires that unfolding of time, both the cyclical time and the linear time. These two ways that we experience time, that linear time and the cyclical time, they weave together and they form a kind of fabric of time that provides a context to our lives. As we sang this morning, the past and future ever meet in the eternal now. As human beings, we are challenged to be alive in the present moment and also to create meaning from that fabric of cyclical and linear time. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I had a most amazing weekend about 3 weeks ago now. On Saturday, I spent the day at the graduation ceremonies for Florida Gulf Coast University twice. They do them twice. And I was there to give the invocation. And so my small part of what was happening happened right up front. And I had the luxury of observing this ceremony and to see the importance of that moment in time as the culmination, a spot on a timeline for these graduates and their families as they're projecting off into the future with things behind and things in front. Very linear time. And to see the university, for whom this was the turning of a wheel that came around a couple of times every year, and that bore witness to their ongoing mission of transforming lives around and around, part of the rhythm of the life of the university. And then the next day, I was one of several hundred people who came into downtown Fort Myers to march and bear witness against the police brutality that had been happening to our African American siblings around the country, not, thankfully, in our community. Several hundred people who responded to something that was happening very presently, very now. There was a call, please come. We came. We were talking about the life of our society these days, this now, very now. And yet, for so many of the people who were there and for a number of the people who spoke, there was the heartbreak of having felt that they had been down this road before. That somehow we were revisiting something that we had hoped was in the past. And then, so it had that now component, it had that cyclical component, it had that linear component of feeling that right now our society is on this interesting trajectory with this opportunity for us to possibly see a new change in our times for the better, for being more who we think we really are and mean to be. So it had a linear trajectory too. All of it, all bound up, all wrapped up in the fact that some people said, "Can you come?" And a bunch of people said yes. All of which brings me back to Janus, that Roman god of doorways, of beginnings and endings, looking both forward and back, the perfect figure for the new year. Janus is caught in the doorway, lives in that eternal moment, and yet he sees both the past and the future. His is the invitation that the new year offers to us. For all of that artificiality, the new year is an ideal time for personal reflection, and it can be kind of hard to escape. Anybody still keeping their New Year's resolution? No need to raise your hands. Often, our resolutions, they reflect a hope that we're going to accomplish a major undertaking. I want to lose 20 pounds this year. I want to learn to post videos on YouTube this year. I will put in a new garden this year. These are ambitious changes. They push us in new directions, and they have noticeable results. Now, there are other resolutions that are also very forward-looking, but they're quieter, they're smaller. I will call my friend Joe every month. I want to laugh every day. I will talk to a stranger at church once a month. These are the resolutions that may pass unseen. And of course, sometimes it's our backward-looking self who makes the resolutions large or small. I will clean up those old files. I will be kinder than I've been lately. Our resolutions, they capture what we see in ourselves as we stand in the gateway, looking forward and looking back. Now, sometimes we may not feel like there's a lot of room in our lives for change. I don't know if you know that feeling, but sometimes it's that life is moving along on a fairly even keel. Maybe it's even a little monotonous. And I find in that kind of time that it can be a little tough for me to imagine things being different from the way they are. And then there are those other times when so much of my life feels like it's beyond my control. And then it can be hard to imagine making changes. So when the new year happens to arrive in one of those kinds of moments, I still try to take advantage of it anyway. And my best trick in those difficult New Years, I pull from a parable. And it's a parable about someone who is interviewing stonecutters. And so when he asks the first stonecutter, "What are you doing?" Well, that first stonecutter says, "I'm cutting stones into blocks, the same as yesterday and the same as tomorrow." But the second stonecutter says, "I'm earning a living for my family." And the third stonecutter says, "I am building a cathedral to the glory of God." The point in the parable is that all three of these people are doing the same thing, just experiencing it differently. So when it happens to be one of those difficult New Years, my resolution might be just as simple as trying to be aware of which stonecutter I happen to be being at any given moment. Earlier, I asked you to reflect on your life over the past year and your hopes for this new one. And now I'm going to ask you to think of some small thing in your life, just a small thing in your life, that you really would rather not carry forward into the new year. It's a very common New Year's practice. In many of our churches this morning, people will write these things down and they will burn them. We're going to skip that part. Instead, I invite you to imagine that you, like Janice, are in the gate. As you look back, you can see that small thing that you would kind of like to leave behind. And you can see it there on the path. Behind you, back there, left behind. Just some small thing you would rather not carry forward. And like Janice, you can also look forward and see that thing that you would like to bring into your life. Some small thing that you would like to add, waiting for you ahead as you are about to catch up to it. Resolutions have a sneaky way of being like the cookie in the reading this morning. If I get this thing I want, then I will be happy. Let me put my attention into taking care of this thing, fulfilling this resolution. They can take on a life of their own. Cookies are fine. Resolutions are fine. Letting things go and picking things up. These are all about how we spend our human life. But it's not just an intellectual exercise. Through it all, it's about that being alive in the present moment, experiencing our lives as they happen. As it said in the reading, happiness does not have anything to do with the cookie. It has to do with being alive, warts and all. Every moment is a Janice moment, really. Every moment binds up linear time, cyclical time, and the timeless moment. And every moment offers us that possibility for reflection and new resolutions. So today, tomorrow, the next day, have a happy new year, and may it always be so. And I invite you to sing. We're going to sing out of the Turquoise Book, number 1010. We give thanks. Richard's going to play it through. We will sing it twice. Closing words are from Anne Hillman. We look with uncertainty beyond the old choices for clear-cut answers to a softer, more permeable aliveness, which is every moment at the brink of death. For something new is being born in us, if we but let it. We stand at a new doorway, awaiting that which comes, daring to be human creatures vulnerable to the beauty of existence, learning to love. May the new year bring us the strength and courage to face whatever perils arise to confront us. May it bring us sweetness and many well-contented hours. May it bring us together to share the sorrows and the joys in this community of hope. May it always be so. Amen.